On November 2nd, 2021, I lost a good friend of 23 years, Jim Short. James on his driver's license, Gypsy to some, depending on when you met him and where, but to me he was Jim. We met in 1998 in a philosophy class led by Bob McAninch at Prestonsburg Community College in southeastern Kentucky. We both grew up in small towns in the mountains. Paintsville, I think, had been Jim's hometown in his youth. But we also both grew up with a taste for big ideas, a taste for big questions. And Mac took a big questions approach when teaching Intro to Philosophy. What is the good life, and how ought one live in order to attain it? I found in Jim an intense curiosity for big ideas, yes, but also about people. He had genuine warmth, a lively and irreverent sense of humor, just the right amount of sheer rebelliousness, and a passion for learning that wasn't narrow in scope or motivation. Jim was authentic. Back in the days when that word hadn't quite grown thin from overuse. We were instant friends. He was 10 years older than me. When we met, Jim had served in the military, seen most of the country from the back of a motorcycle, and he'd worked in construction. Heavy manual labor ended for him when he fell from a building somewhere in Oklahoma and injured his back. Almost all of his working life had been blue-collar and in roles and settings where the old salts heaped the maximum amount of derision upon the upstart college boys. So it was just a pocket term for something undesirable, to be a college boy. But things change. By the age of 39, when we met in the late 90s, mostly retired and mildly disabled from that injury, Jim was utterly stoked to be pursuing that higher education his previous work cohort had assigned only to the softest and most privileged. He was also stably in recovery from addiction, and he was a real asset, in fact, to the local 12-step community. He was a natural-born humanistic counselor with a lot of education from the School of Hard Knocks. And to top it all off, during those earliest weeks of our acquaintance, Jim got custody of his two sons, Chris and Damon, who were, I think, 7 and 8 years old at the time. The boys came to live with their dad in his small apartment not far from campus. This situation might have put a cramp in Jim's style just a little, since he saw romance and adventure around every corner. But he loved those boys, and he made it all work. Sometimes his daughter, Amber, in her teens at the time, stayed with him too, and I was comfortable there. These people were family. Jim always saw the best in people, which made him an easy person to be around. Now, don't get me wrong, he had a skeptical side. He could be critical, but usually in a deeply amusing way. We both shared kind of a dark sense of humor, and we occupied a rarefied space, a low-pressure friendship space without much agenda or expectation. And we saw each other most every day for several years, then a bit less as life and circumstances changed, mostly me moving around. And I hate to say it, but I've had more dream encounters than phone calls with Jim since I moved to Georgia and became a dad, going on 8 years ago as I record this, and that's a little sad for me. We've talked, but only once or twice in the last few years. So take my advice. When you have those hyper-vivid dreams that come from the heart and echo something from your past, somehow it's more real than waking life, be sure to listen to those. Then be sure to act on it when you feel that tug or that urge to reach out to someone you haven't spoken with in a while, even if it's hard to get the timing right amid busy lives and conflicting work schedules and all the rest. Figure it out. Southern men, Appalachian men, mountain people, rugged and independent guys from all over. Please normalize saying I love you to your best friends. It isn't gay, and it isn't weird. But unfortunately, our culture has stunted and almost stripped us of our capacity to express how we feel when it's man to man, especially. So let's grow some, little backbone there. And let's become something new and better than before. Be alive while you're alive and not a shell. Let people know how you feel. Somewhere right now, Jim is laughing. He's rested, he's healed, and he's ready for a new adventure. Are you? May you have at least one good friend in your life, as extraordinary, as loyal, and as devoid of malice, envy, and pretense as this dearly departed friend of mine. To his children, I hope you find some comfort here. It may not seem like it right now, but you have way more than your memories. So when the problems of this life are supremely vexing and irritating, as so often they are and will be, close your eyes, clear your mind, take in one deep breath, and ask yourself what your dad would do or say in the same situation. I have a strong intuition it will come to you. His impression on your soul is deep enough that you'll sometimes get an answer that's so characteristically Jim that you may not even like it because, dads. But if you didn't want to hear the answer, then you shouldn't have asked, right? What else would he say? Go ahead and try it out. I believe his undeniable presence will persist and will rise to meet most any occasion, exactly when you need it the most. Jim was exceptional, and so are you. Tap into every available source of knowledge, wisdom, and power to live your lives well. Especially, don't skimp on self-knowledge, self-awareness, self-reflection. Areas where your father excelled, and a place where ordinary people often fall short. Instead of denial, anger, or self-deception when things go wrong, first acknowledge your limitations, and behold, you are already growing beyond them. Things have a way of working out. Choose excellence and follow your healthiest desires. Live unapologetically and from your authentic self. That dad of yours was a bit of a rebel, but he wasn't a rebel without a cause. He was a good man and an excellent friend. May he rest well, and may the light of your ancestors shine within you always. Mark Vanderpool. November 2021.